You're live. Holy
Okay. Now I'm going to try to find the other chat
smokes.
thing to say, oh, yeah.
I don't know why it didn't work before.
No. I don't have a microphone now.
Okay.
I've dropped it. There was a magnet for the back of that's in my bra. There's four people. Hi.
Yeah, hello. We're sorry for all the trouble, whoever is watching us right now. There was a big, we had a whole
Great setup.
nice system set up here, and then it didn't work. So we've had to scramble to try to get things to work.
Okay.
So now we just need to try to get the rest of the people over here.
Okay. I will try to do that. And I'm going to go into that to see what it says. See if I can find. So you can. Viewed. I'm not a good under pressure person, so this is.
You're doing very well.
This is a definitely not. I don't know how to find what was streaming. Okay, there's a new one streaming. I see that. The other one just disappeared. So I do. There's 20 people.
Okay.
Hopefully they can find.
Yeah, hopefully
find it.
Sure.
Sorry.
Sorry for the like I said. Sorry for the difficulty. We're trying to get a little more elaborate here with what we can do on live streams. And you know how technology is. Something went wrong, but that's okay. We got some people here right now. Thank you, and maybe more will show up. We can only hope.
Yeah. If anyone out there is an expert at Streamlabs, I would appreciate talking to them because I had it all set up, all the testing worked, and then it just was on the circle of death with saying that we were actually going live. So I had it so we could like show the gun and I just show all sorts of stuff, but that's okay.
Yep, better than nothing that we have going right now.
I know, it says 100 setting on the other video. If you could go tell them, I don't know how to get to that. If you can somehow in the chat for the other video, tell them that we're over here, I would appreciate that.
We can't make the other video go live. It's broken.
If I log into that other video, then yeah, it's broken. So I don't know how to find it.
I can't find the remote.
Well, you're just gonna have to do something else, buddy.
Go away. We're on.
Henry, it's okay. Then do something else. Henry. Sorry. Oh, thank you, Lisa, for doing that. Thank you. We have a. Oh boy, you can't find his remote. Oh, there, I see. There's the other one. Yeah, that streaming software wasn't working. Okay, we have 46 people.
Okay. Thank you.
People start trickling in.
Thank you all for coming. I'm a little bit discombobulated now. So we'll just we will keep this pretty informal. Just kind of approach it from a perspective that you're just hanging out with us, and any questions or comments that you have, we'll just talk about things. We have a few things that will update you about the business and projects, things like that, which might not be a bad idea to start with here.
Yeah. You don't want to start with the things. You want to do an update first? I've got questions already, but
yeah, let's just go and do an update first, real
quick.
Might
answer some of those questions,
and then we'll probably circle back to it as well. Some people are probably wondering how the Hawken project is coming along, and it's going well. I would still guess sometime in the fall it'll be ready for sale. I'm thinking maybe in September sometime, late September. We'll see. We're making a lot of progress with it, but then there's still a lot of details to work out and programs to debug and so forth and so on. But it is going well. So that's kind of.
Do you have the stock of that you'd like to?
No, not really.
Yet. Okay.
No.
Never mind.
So yeah, it's going well. Working on a lot of other projects as well. There's the Brown Bess project. I don't know if we announced it last time in the live video. I don't think.
We thought that we were thinking about it.
Yeah. So we've a very nice fella has loaned us a Brown Bess. You can see behind me, hanging on the wall there. It's in immaculate condition, just a beautiful piece. It's a model 1756, and just be a long land pattern, and it's going to be a great example to copy. And we'll basically try to copy it in every detail that we can, which is going to be a challenging project, but there seems to be a lot of interest in Brown Besses. It's not something that I've studied in detail, but the more I kind of learn a little bit more about them, the more I become interested in them as well, because they do, they're a military gun, but they still have a lot of nice lines and aesthetic characteristics that make them very appealing. It'll be a little bit of a challenging project because it's more difficult than a long rifle, more complicated. It's overall much bigger and has more pieces, sling swivels, iron rammer, things of that nature. Bayonet will be a very big challenge to make, but we're looking forward to it, and we're going to be working on it after the Hawken gets going. We'll be working on it pretty strong, so hopefully it'll be ready sometime next year, and hopefully earlier in the year rather than later. Yeah. Especially for the birthday of the country. We're kind of on it a little bit late, but that's okay. We're going to try to get it ready for that, and hopefully that there'll be a lot of interest because of that.
Because Jim does the designing part, and then there's other wonderful programmers that then he does design and then sends it on to them, and that's where. Yeah. So that's why he can start another gun, even while something is still not out yet.
Yeah,
because that can be kind of confusing.
Yeah. At one point, I did all the designing and programming, but the programming can take a lot of time. So what I mean by programming is basically teaching the machines to make the parts that we want, developing strategies of how we want the parts to be made, and then programming the machines to do that. So we have some more help now. So we're really gearing up a lot to increase our number of offerings. And it's just something that has kind of happened organically and kind of naturally. I've become better at designing, and we're able to come up with designs much faster and higher quality designs as well. And we've gotten more help in the programming department. So expect in the next 2-3 years, probably our number of offerings will at least double in that time period. So it's going to be exciting times, kind of busy and challenging, but that's just kind of how we operate.
So for people just coming in who are wondering what they missed, we not really anything yet. Something he'll probably talk about again
so
later.
We just chatted a little bit about some projects. We chatted about the Hawken update, going well, looking towards maybe the middle end of September. Although we'll see, there's still a lot of work to do on it, but it's going well. Talked about the Brown Bess project, which behind my head, you can see it hanging on the wall. So that's going to be the next project after the Hawken. So we've got a lot of things in the works.
Yeah. And for a lot, I see there's a lot of folks on the other channels still waiting. I know. I'm so sorry.
Very, very sorry.
I'm so sorry. I couldn't get the streaming software to work, so I'm just going through the basic YouTube now. So again, if anybody can go let them know, I'd really appreciate it. But we'll just start going through the questions.
You answer this.
What is this? What happened? YouTube is okay.
So yeah, we'll start going through some questions here in a moment.
So I'll read one for you, Jim. So when does the pre-order for the Hawken start?
So we don't want to do we've taken a an interest list, I guess you would call it, and we don't want to start any pre-order until we actually have at least one good prototype. So we're not quite there, but you'll know it when it's ready. We're really looking forward to that. We have a great deal of interest. We have over 1,000 on the interest list, and so we're working very hard at it, and it probably won't be till September sometime when the order list would be opened up.
And then thank you says, I can't wait for I can afford a Southern Mountain rifle. I love your work. When is the pistol kit rolling out?
Yeah, so things are in flux a little bit. The Brown Bess is probably going to jump ahead of the pistol kit, but that might change because the pistol kit is pretty easy to make in comparison. So, and it's already designed, so there is a chance that it could come out before Brown Bess. And it's hard to speculate on all this exactly how it's going to play out in order and timing. You know, I can kind of look ahead and see where the Hawken's going to fall, and then after that, it becomes a little bit trickier.
Then everyone's. Thank you for the people that are just thanking Jim for his expertise.
Oh, yeah,
I try to get whatever he knows out. What are the best ALR collections on your site for referencing the SMR? I don't know what that means. So yeah, if you can give a little more information on that. Greetings from Baltimore. I wonder if you can give some tips on browning locks, any surface finishing first or brown as it comes from you.
Yeah. So just a little bit of background is browning is, if you're concerned, browning is probably appropriate on anything that would have been made maybe 1790s or later. So our earlier guns are Colonial and our Fowler and our Woods Runner. If you're concerned about historical correctness, it's probably not the best choice of metal finish. And to be perfectly honest, I've not done a lot of browning. Some of the keys are just to make sure you prepare your surface, and usually not too fine, because if it's too fine of a prepared surface, the browning can have a little bit more difficulty biting in and starting. And then just basically follow the instructions. We sell Homer Dangler's browning solution, and it's a very, very good browning solution. And I think you'll have a pretty good success. The only caveat to that is if you're in an extremely dry environment, it might be difficult to get it to take. So you can set up a damp box, some kind of a environment that's a little bit more damper than your ambient conditions, and also a little warmer often works well.
I think this popped up when you were talking about the Brown Bess.
Yeah.
Do you 3D scan it to copy it?
Yeah, that's a very, very good question. I like talking about these things too. Excuse me. So in the past, we've used methods where some parts are easy to model and some parts are very, very difficult. So what we've done in the past is we've made a model, an actual physical model, and then 3D scanned it, and then used software to convert it to an actual solid model. Now, that's the case with just the complex aspects of the rifle. So for example, the stock surface, but none of the inlets and everything like that. You can then, after you have the stock surface, you can then manually in CAD, you can, inlet the locks and the barrels and all the parts and so forth and so on. But there's problems with that. Anytime you scan and then you convert to solid models, which are very important, you lose quality. And even scanning itself is good in some ways, but bad in others. Inside corners, it's not good on. Outside corners, it's not good on. And the quality of your model is lacking. So we've transitioned to basically just designing from the outset, right in the CAD, everything. So it becomes complicated to design in our CAD software shapes, organic shapes such as stocks, but it can be done. It's time consuming. You end up with a better product in the end. And so that's really where in the last year or so, where we've transitioned. Now with that said, with something like the Brown Bess, what I would end up doing is I'll probably end up scanning it, and then just using that scan data to set up all the lofts and everything required to create the shape. So it can be just a reference. It's not really used directly, but it'll allow me to get closer to the original object, because you have basically a reference of what the shape is, a 3D reference. And then you can still use those CAD tools that give you the really good quality of solid model on the end. So yeah, great question.
Will the Brown Bess have a swamp barrel?
So it's a barrel that is certainly big at the breech. You know, the original. It's mostly a round barrel, so big at the breech and tapers down. And it's probably not a straight taper. I'm sure. I'm sure it has a little bit of a belly in it. Not much flare because you know you have your bayonet. It's pretty straight at the muzzle, but it's a thin-walled barrel, so it's you know, more akin to a Fowler barrel than an octagon barrel.
I skipped one. Sorry, Bill Shipman. A nice option for a wooden rammer.
Yeah, I don't think it will really work with you know, this particular model was supplied with iron rammers, and that's, I think, the direction we're going to go. And the reason why you can't really switch is this: the stock proportions change, and some of the hardware, like ramrod pipes and everything, change. And like I said, we're going to try to be as careful to make it to recreate it as perfectly as we possibly can, because these, unlike long rifles or Hawkens or pistols or whatever, you know, there's a huge range in those particular types of guns that were made, and there's a lot of room for interpretation. Now there are some variations, I'm sure, in the Brown Bess, but you know, there were standards, and the it doesn't leave as much room for creativity. So we're going to basically try to just duplicate this fine example that we have, down to every detail if we can, even little marks and everything.
What about the pistol? You already addressed that, but in case someone came late.
Yeah, so the order of projects, it's hard to know. Thank you all so much for the excitement and interest. The Brown Bess will probably be after the Hawken, but the pistol may squeeze in there depending, because it's an easier project, less parts, less complicated. It's already designed, that sort of thing. So it's going to happen. The exact order, I'm not sure.
Okay. Can the Bess be pre-ordered yet?
Not yet. I don't think it's really all that wise for us to do that.
Yeah, we'll probably start an interest list. I don't know if Bree already has.
Yeah.
But since we announce it,
Yeah.
but whoa, I lost it. We'll be in touch on that. We'll announce it. There we go. Sorry. Definitely want to Bess. Someone said Carl says he saw us in Pittsburgh. Yeah, that was fun. Saw a bunch of old guns. That was really neat.
Yeah, that was Catherine's first time going to the KRA. It was just kind of mind-blowing for her, and we chatted about it afterwards. And one of the most amazing things I think that she found was just all the artistic details on these guns, and how, you know, even in a time that wasn't probably the easiest time, when people didn't have a lot, they put so much effort and so much of themselves to make these you know, functional pieces beautiful. And I think that's really something that we've lost. You know, we talked about how we lost it in largely in architecture and just everything, you know, and it's nice to be able to look back on that.
And, you know, there's a lot of guns that are in books, and I mean, I've seen some things, but there's things I'd never seen before. And to think that they're so old, you know, 250 years old, and people are made such beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
Someone says, okay, D4 says, I've seen many videos on the Woods Runner, which seem to show they shoot low. Kibler sells a high rear sight for it. Should I skip the standard rear sight and just buy and install the higher one?
Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe some do shoot low with the standard sight. I don't know if that's all of them, but you know, you could just, you know, start with either one. You know, let us know, and we'll if you order a gun, we'll throw both of them in for you if you want. You know.
Would there be anything about the design of the gun that would make it shoot low? Or
well,
the
sights have to be appropriate. They have to be the appropriate height for it to shoot where you're aiming.
Okay.
And there can be some variation in barrels. And it's always better to have a gun shoot low, file off the front sight and bring the muzzle up, than have to monkey around trying to make a taller front sight or file off the rear sight.
Makes sense. Hawken project is very exciting. It feels like there's a lack of Hawken offerings out there nowadays, so it's great to see that empty spot get filled.
Yeah, we're working hard on it. And just to let you know how much we're focused on trying to get it exactly right. There's a part of the stock that wasn't exactly how I wanted. As I started looking at it, the wrist width was a little bit narrower than I wanted, and I probably spent at least a week, if not more, solid work just trying to make that small adjustment. Sometimes the software it's designed to be well, it's designed such that you can, I guess it's called parametric software, where you can change a sketch or something and then it'll adjust your model. But when you're doing really complex parts like this, it doesn't work that way, and you have to go through very, very carefully each step, and it could be time consuming. But we're more happy with it right now.
Changed it 1/8 of an inch, maybe.
Yeah, added a 1/16 of an inch to the wrist on each side, or right in that vicinity.
Yeah.
But it looks much better. The wrist was a little bit flat because it was a little too narrow, and it gives it a little more full, rounded look. But that's just to let you know that's the kind of time we'll spend obsessing over details,
Yeah.
and we want it to be as good as we can. So, and it's coming along nicely. So.
And Jim does listen as well. If someone notices something, I mean, he considers
Yeah.
if someone sees something that just to take a double check at it, especially in this phase. So, but he saw it and didn't like it.
It's
just-
nicer now.
It
So
just wasn't right.
yeah.
Aren't that far from me. Can I order a kit and just come get it? It says, yeah.
So the way that works is just to let everybody know that's listening is yeah, you can come get it. Just to let you know that we're always real busy, and we usually don't have a great deal of time to spend, but we sometimes do. So just so if you have your expectations reasonable, then then it's no problem.
But Bree is really great about making sure the kit is out and ready to go and whatever stuff, and then you can just come and get it. So how about a double barrel shotgun in flintlock or the other?
Yeah, we've chatted about that on previous live streams, and they would be very neat to make a really high quality one that's representative of original work, which is what we do. We pick the best original work and try to make it equal to that. And that's a big project, complicated. It'd be an expensive gun, maybe sometime down the road, but I don't know.
Will the pistol lock be round faced or flat faced?
So the pistol lock on the pistol that we designed will be our late Ketland lock is what it'll be. So it's a flat faced lock. The round face lock is pretty darn big. It'd be huge for a pistol, so it just really wouldn't work. But sometimes they used smaller round face locks. But in this example, with this pistol, it's more of a federal period pistol, maybe 1800 or so, and definitely the flat faced Ketland export style lock that we produce is appropriate for that pistol.
I built 4 of your rifles and really like the finish I get on the maple. What is the name of the wood? I want to do some revolver grips, but none of the wood looks that good.
So what we use is primarily red maple, and it's commonly referred to as soft maple, even though it's not really soft. Sometimes we'll have some sugar maple that'll pass through the shop, but most, probably 90% is red maple. And with red maple, there's some keys. It can vary in hardness a lot. It can vary in quality, so you do have to be somewhat selective in what you pick to make sure it's appropriate for gun stock.
I'm sorry about that. The KRA photo sets. Which collections are good for referencing the Southern Mountain Rifle?
Off the top of my head, I'm not quite sure, but there is, I believe,
number 14.
I
think is what they had said.
Yeah, take a look at our website and you might be able to see.
Off the top of my head,
and if you're not sure, send Bree a message at info@kiblerslongrifles.com, and we'll try to help you out.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if we talked about the KRA photo sets last time or not. It'd be a good time to discuss those. So the KRA stands for the Kentucky Rifle Association. and they're a group of collectors that meet, and they're I think their mission basically is just to promote the art and of the original Kentucky long rifles or Pennsylvania long rifles or whatever you want to call them. And part of what they've done is at each annual show, they have what's called a president's display, which brings together a group of guns that are either from a certain area or time frame, etc. Some of the best original guns on the planet, long rifles on the planet, and then they do photograph those in detail. And those photo sets are then available for purchase, and they're fantastic because of the quality of the photos. You can zoom in and see every little detail, and it's a wonderful, wonderful way to get to know these original guns and what they look like and so forth. And we do sell those for the KRA. It's just us trying to help the KRA out a little bit. And so I'd encourage you to go to our website, check out what's available. There are a little USB stick that has photos on there. They're pretty affordable, I think $20. And I think that you'll really like what you see.
Yeah, we don't mark them up at all or
Yeah.
anything like that. It's just to help out. So then it can get bunched in and there's not any extra shipping and things like that.
Yep.
So, all right. General question. How many times can I shoot before I need to clean the barrel? I am shooting for the first time right now. I got a cleaning tip stuck in the barrel. Luckily got it out with water.
Yeah. So it can vary. Unfortunately, the way this sort of black powder stuff is that there's a lot of variables in how you shoot, the different products you use, the different size ball you use, thickness of patch. So there's a lot of variables. It can go to the extreme where some people can shoot all day, or they claim to shoot all day and not clean. They're using a very tight ball and patch, and any of the fouling then just gets pushed down on top of the powder from that you previously loaded. So you're kind of cleaning it with each loading. You're pushing any fouling down. Now that doesn't work for some people, just the way they shoot. Some people like to run a cleaning patch through after every shot, so it varies a great deal. My kind of practice is, and I'm not a big shooter, but I like to load with a fairly tight patch and ball, and I just keep pushing them down as long as I can. So I go as long as I can before I have to wipe it out.
Hopefully pistol before Brown Bess, maybe. Appreciate what you do, Jim. So thankful to be able to finally own a gun like this. Could you clarify for me clinching on the barrel underlugs?
Yeah. So what that so it's nice you brought that up. So you'll see our any new purchases of Woods Runner, you'll probably see barrels that don't have integral underlugs. And that integral underlugs that were machined as part of the barrel is something that we were real happy with, and we do like. However, we have a new way of making barrels, and the new method doesn't allow for integral underlugs. But what it does allow for is a better quality barrel, just by the manufacturing technique. So it's always kind of like a trade-off. That's kind of what the manufacturing is, and often just what everything in the world is. And part of that trade-off is then that we had to go back to separate underlugs dovetailed in the barrel, and then they're installed. So what we have done is we've made underlugs that fit each location, so they're already sized to length and everything, and they're marked. So it allows for pretty easy fitting, and there's instructions that come with them, and they even have a little lead, so they start in the dovetail very nicely. And by clinching, after you install the underlug, sometimes it helps secure them a little bit if you come along with a screwdriver or a flat chisel right at the junction of the barrel and the underlug, and just hammer that down just a little bit, and it'll lock it in place just a little bit better. You can also use maybe a center punch, 4 center punch dots on the outer 4 corners of the underlug and the barrel. With all that said, I think ours fit pretty good, and the way we've designed them is we've made sure that they don't hit in the bottom corners. So the pressure from the underlug is at the top end of the dovetail. So we've adjusted the angles of the underlug relative to the dovetail. So they kind of snug in there pretty nice, and they're a little more forgiving in size. So it might not be critical, but it doesn't hurt to kind of hit that junction. By a chisel, I mean, if you take a chisel and you just flatten it just to make it look like a screwdriver.
The calibers for the Hawken.
Yeah, it'll go from 45 to 58 is what it'll be able to handle. So there'll be quite a range.
Wow.
45, 50, 54, and 58. I don't know if we'll do 45. We probably will because there'll be somebody that wants it, but it'll be heavier and it'll be more fitting in, say, 50 through 58.
Okay. Just finished putting together a Kibler Fowler, used it on the 4th. We had a musket live fire. I am with the SAR. The lock is first class, have had no misfires in my practices.
That's good.
That's good. Yeah.
And that's good. It's funny, we had some family over, Catherine's family, and they live in Germany right now. And there are a bunch of children, and so we shot one of our guns, and several times it misfired, so we weren't very proud of that.
It was a little embarrassing.
Yeah, so I think the flint was a little dull in it, and we were trying to get too much life out of it.
One of our employees' guns, and
But they had an absolutely amazing time. So maybe we'll post some pictures of that.
Yeah, the two youngest were apparently arguing over who likes flintlocks more.
Mhm.
So we have some converts. So it was a lot of fun. So are the ready to ship kits from orders that fell through somehow? No. You want me to answer that one?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Those are a couple of different things. The one is where if they run wood and it doesn't fit an order because there's some blemish on it, there's some defect, there's a chip, it just doesn't meet the standards where we
Chip, mineral stain.
Yes, a wormhole.
Yeah, one thing we've learned is that people can be very, very particular about wood, whether it makes sense or not to us. So in order to try to avoid that issue, we're in turn very particular about the quality of wood that we send. Right. So if there's anything that we think can be a slight imperfection, it usually goes into our quick ships. Where
we just feel that it needs to be disclosed. Everybody knows what they're getting ahead of time. Some of those are discounted very little because they're really, it's not, in our eyes, Jim wouldn't see it as a defect. If he got it, he would use it. But there's different expectations for our kits. It's top of the line stuff. So that's one, is when there's some sort of blemish. The other is if I don't have, they're running stocks, and wood is a natural product, and it is very hard to tell by looking at the stock blank what kind of wood you're going to get at the end, how figured it is.
Yeah, so you're gonna be able to guess right a lot of the time, but not all the time.
Yeah. So if I have orders for mid-grade maple, but they all came out as standard, and I don't have any orders for standard, those things will go for the quick ships. Rather than just have them sit around until I have a standard order, we keep them moving, because some people really just like to see the wood ahead of time. So very rarely, if never, is it an order that fell through, because if an order fell through, usually we can find the next person in line that had a similar order and maybe switch out the barrel or something like that. So we do prioritize filling orders, but sometimes that doesn't work out. And something else that has come up that's kind of related is, we've had a lot of quick ships with mountain rifles lately, because that's what we were running, because mountain rifles use a thinner wood that we had a lot of. We were waiting for thicker wood to come out of the kiln that we use for the colonials. And so someone who had an order for a colonial was concerned because they saw mountain rifles being listed for quick ships and they thought they were being skipped. Yeah. That's not the case.
There's a lot of variables in a manufacturing process. Right. And sometimes on the outside, it might not seem completely clear. You might think you're being skipped over or something, but no, we're not. It's just There's just variables.
Right. What caliber, if we're waiting on a shipment of barrels, things like that. So we're just trying to fill what we can while we're waiting on stuff. Because also too, if we want to give each customer the best thing and give them what they ordered. And so.
Yeah. And along those lines, what we call our quick ships are very, very popular. So for those that aren't familiar with it, they're guns that are listed as they're already packed up in the box, ordered today, and the next day that shipping is available, they'll go out, which is something that's kind of revolutionary in the world of high quality muzzleloaders. Usually you'd have to wait forever for something. So it's been a great thing, and we'll probably start even having more available in that fashion. And just to take it the next step further, probably in the next weeks or months, you'll see more show up on the website as well, because summer is a little slower time for us, and as we get the backlog pared down to some degree, then we'll have a little bit of excess that can go to the quick ships, and the quick ships are always so popular that they sell pretty fast. And one thing I'd like to mention too, that with summer being a little bit slower than our peak times in the winter people have time inside and they're looking for projects, and that's the time when orders are the strongest. But since orders are a little slower here, we're going to probably in the next week, or maybe even tomorrow, we're going to offer some incentives to buy this summer to help the summer sales. So expect to see a notice coming out that it'd be a good time to purchase, because I don't think we'll offer any discounts bigger than this year. And when the Hawken is released, then there's going to be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of orders, and it'll be a little trickier to predict exactly when we're going to be able to fill orders. It's going to complicate things. So as far as wait time, it's not going to probably get any better than this either.
I'm a reenactor looking forward to the Bess. I'll be at the Christmas crossing of the Delaware. We do every year, battles of Trenton, Princeton, Monmouth, Brandywine, and many other places.
How cool.
Yeah. We don't do reenacting, but it's pretty cool. I like that people do. We just work.
Yeah. And I don't know, like I said, I'm not a musket kind of guy, or I haven't been in the past, but I'm sure this project is going to really teach me a lot, and it'll be nice.
Will you do more military muskets in the future?
Probably not, but maybe. It's hard to predict.
We never thought we would be doing some of the things we're doing.
Yeah. And the reason why we're doing a Bess is because it seems like there's widespread appeal. There's not anything that's really good available right now. And couple that with the birthday of the country coming up, it seems like it'd be a very good project.
Question: how would you recommend dealing with the pins, making sure not to have any wood pop out on the other side, like the pin finding its own hole?
Yeah. So one thing is to not treat the pin like a nail. So what I mean by that is, if it's not going, don't keep hammering, because they aren't very big, and they can make their own hole. So if it feels like it's not going, don't just keep driving. That's number one. Number two is make sure that everything is seated fully before the pins are driven. So if, for example, if a ramrod pipe isn't seated fully and you would drive a pin in, it could hit the hole in the ramrod pipe that isn't seated fully and steer the pin off course. So make sure everything is seated fully. And sometimes it's nice to even put a little clamp that has light pressure holding, say, a ramrod pipe in. On top of that, it's a good idea to definitely round the ends of the pins and have a little bit of a lead, so they can not be as sharp on the corners. So that's another big thing. And then finally, what I'd recommend is when you finish, sometimes people will finish in a way where they get a lot of finish down in the pinholes, and that can really clog them up. So you might want to carefully spin a drill in the stock. The only downside of that is if you're not careful when you spin a drill in a stock, you can open up the pinholes too far, and then they can tend to be a little on the loose side. So one thing, if you find your pins are a little tighter than you like, just chuck the pin up in a cordless drill, and then just sand it a little bit. Just hold some fine sandpaper, maybe there's some 320 wet dry paper or something on it. That'll polish it down a little bit, and it'll go in and out much easier.
When can we expect the blunderbuss kit?
So I like English guns, but I've never been real fond of blunderbuss. They've always seemed kind of comical to me, but you never know because I do like English guns.
What are the monthly payment options on the Hawken?
So usually we really don't have that, but we have worked with people, and we probably will. That if somebody has an interest, we try to accommodate it.
How to stain walnut to look like English?
Yeah, we're really negligent on this, and the biggest thing we need to do some samples and have a post on it, so I apologize for that. But the biggest thing is to use some yellow dye on it. Generally is what works well, and it takes kind of the purplish or brownish color and away. So we have trans tint dye that's yellow, and I believe the danglers have a yellow too.
Yeah.
Not the Hummer dangler. Yeah, stains that we sell have a yellow too. Now, along with that, we're happy to provide any customer with some scrap wood. Now, we can't guarantee it comes from the same piece of wood that your gun is made of, but we'll provide some scrap wood that you can then experiment with. So, the yellow aniline dye will take away some of that color, and then in addition to that, you can then use maybe some dyes that tend towards the reddish color. It'll give it a little bit of a reddish color, and you can mix those even with your oil finish. And one thing I'd like to mention is that the finishing process is like, at least the way I approach it, is it's not like an exact science. What it basically is you start with some kind of an idea what you want, and then you keep adjusting kind of as you go. You can even mix dyes with your finishes, so you can keep on working the color as the gun is finished. It can adjust as you go.
Which is why a lot of times when people ask exactly how he finished a particular gun, he doesn't really remember because it's just
usually it's a bunch of stuff.
Hi, Henry. Okay. Are you hiring? I have a degree in CNC machining and programming, and I've always loved your work. I want to go to gunsmithing school, but my passion is in antique firearms, especially muzzle loaders.
So you never know. So I'd suggest sending us an email.
Yep.
And maybe just tell us a little bit about yourself, and you never know.
We hire people, we hire backgrounds, but a lot of it is we have a good feel around our shop. Everybody that works here, really hardworking. It's just sort of I don't know, it's hard to even describe.
Yeah,
we trust everybody.
We have a great workforce here, and we're really, really proud of that, because the difference between that and maybe people who don't really care too much is enormous when you're trying to run a relatively small business. So we have a fantastic group.
Mm-hmm. Wooden rammer was for earlier models. Okay. Okay. What you meant by the marks is all the proper British military proof marks and the lock itself looking like it's engraved with the manufacturer.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are we drinking? I have 2 drinks going at all times. I have a coffee and orange poppy.
So Catherine is sort of the one that brings on kind of newer things. I don't like to change very much, and she has been buying these poppies, and they're actually very good and better for you than pop.
And it makes me feel like I'm drinking something really bad for me, and also I've quit drinking alcohol, and then I get that feel like I'm kind of drinking too. So it's, I don't know. We are very proud of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl.
Detail in history, there really is no one other than Loyalist Arms offering a 1756, and those are Indian guns, not very accurate. Yours will be a hit when it's ready. Hello from Georgia. What pattern is your Brown Bess modeled from?
So I think again, I'm not familiar with all the nomenclature, but I think it would fall into the second pattern. But I think the more modern way of looking at it is that it's a 1756 model. Looking at, say, Goldstein's book, I believe one of the authorities from Williamsburg, and that's how it's broken down nowadays, I believe.
Quentin says shooting right now at 40 yards with stock sights 6 inches low, ordering the taller sight.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea.
I've been following y'all a while and very interested in building one of your kits. For a first-time builder, which kit would you recommend?
Well, if you'd like a rifle rather than a smoothbore, I'd recommend our Woods Runner probably, because it goes together very easy and is great for a first-time shooter. Available in calibers that are often good for hunting bigger game like deer. So it'd probably be a great choice.
Yeah, so Kevin White says, Charles Kuhn, look above Jim's head. That Brown Bess with the white strap is the one they're going to use as the pattern. Yes, that's the one. I'm excited for the Hawken. Are you going to the CLA in Lexington?
No, we're not. It's been a number of years. We've just kind of
support it. We love this, Yeah,
it's been a number of years. And we just kind of focus on doing our thing here. But in the future, I'd like to go again sometime, and maybe not even as a vendor, but just to say hi to everybody. We would enjoy that, which is a great time to bring up the CLA. I'm not sure if everybody is familiar with the CLA or not, but it stands for the Contemporary Long Rifle Association. So their mission is basically just to promote people that like to build these guns. Not only guns from blanks and from scratch, but also kit guns as well. And they've done a tremendous service to gun builders over the last several decades, probably approaching 30 years now. And so I would encourage you to check out their website. And they have an annual show in Lexington, Kentucky, where you see some of the best contemporary guns being displayed that are built today. So if you have an interest in this, I'd encourage you to see, to check them out and see if you're interested.
It's hard for us to go. The last time we went, I think we had like 6 or 8 tables. And really for us to pack up all these fragile gun stocks and go, and also really, we just sort of need to stick to the shop and keep filling orders.
Yeah. And honestly, it's a little bit, although we had a nice show, it's a little bit more appropriate for maybe the smaller custom builders is what kind of the show is geared towards.
Yeah.
And so, it was okay when we went, but it's a lot of work. Shows are a lot of work for a company our size. And it just, something we've chosen not to do any shows, and especially to be perfectly honest, with the advent of online and the internet, you can spread the word so much now that it's in some ways a great option.
And this year with the CLA, they are actually going to be doing, I got this thing from them that says, attention kit gun builders. The CLA president is doing, the president's display is going to be kit gun builds, which is pretty neat. I think that might be the first time they've done anything like that.
It is the first time they've done that.
So typically it's from a blank. So it's a kit gun build. So bring your custom built kit guns and showcase your craftsmanship. Steve will personally select his favorite for the President's Display Award. So this is kind of a cool thing for our customers to sort of get welcomed in as well.
It is, and it's a nice thing for us too, because there's always been, most everybody's super supportive of our business, but there's always been maybe a little bit of friction between some custom builders and us, because maybe we're taking some of their work or this or that. But it's really nice to see an organization like the CLA kind of really acknowledge the importance of kit guns today, and kind of change your focus a little bit to at least publicly welcome them.
It's really neat. And so for people that wanted to do that, it means you don't have to register for a table, but you do bring your gun and register it to be on that table, the President's display. And basically, so just, you can send us an email if you want more information. I'll pass this on. But this is on Saturday, they'll announce the winner on it. So that'll be kind of fun. It's always fun to have a little competition too. Okay, when is the next open house?
So we're thinking about maybe next year, but we're not sure if we're going to or not. We
We're trying to build a
how do
house
I, yeah,
too.
so we like people a lot, but we're also kind of private people, and
Can
so
you
it's,
get the dog?
yeah, so
She's
it's
driving me
kind of
crazy.
a challenge. So, but we really do like sharing what we do. So we'll see. We're not, no promises whether it's going to happen next year or not.
Mhm.
There's a possibility it could, but I don't know.
It gets a little overwhelming to be the center of attention, honestly, for both of us. Like that's I think what he means. Like we like people, but even like compliments is something that Jim is learning to take compliments. We just sort of like to do our work and do a really good job of it. But it was awesome last time, but it was a lot of people and it took a few days for me to recover.
Yeah. And what I'd like about it is to be able to just share our business basically,
Mhm.
you know, because our business keeps growing every year, more machines, more people, more things we do. And it's nice to be able to show that because I think sometimes people don't really understand, you know, what goes into this.
Mhm.
It,
We know it's fun for the customers too, and we want to be able to do something like that. So we're going to try to figure out a way
we'll see.
at some point.
Yeah.
I don't know when, but also because we're still living in our old workshop,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
right here, right by the shop, and so we kind of want to get housing for us
So
first.
housing is a sore subject. So this isn't. It's kind of an economic depressed area where we live, and housing really isn't very available. And even trying to build houses has proved very difficult for us. So it's been very frustrating.
Yeah. Been a couple of years of trying to navigate that. Okay. As a favor to all your fans, buy out Laurel Mountain Forge and bring back Permalin. There simply is no substitute. If
yeah, some people like the Permalin, and unfortunately, it's just yeah. I don't know. I've heard that they were supplying some to some people now, some distributors, some shops had some Permalin. I heard somebody mention that his wife had been very ill. So you know, I don't know.
What CNC machines do you consider to be the best for the type of work that we do?
So yeah, this is kind of my passion and what I like to talk about. So we try to pick. So we do a lot of different work. So there's a lot of different machines that are best for different work. So we have a range. We have machines. We have Haas machines, which are very good because they're very affordable, and the value of a Haas machine is amazing. We also have a couple Mazak machines, which are more capable, better machines, but much more money. And we also have a DMG Mori machine, which is probably even a little step up from a Mazak. So there's a place for all of them.
Mazak has been good, but it has some
we've had
downtime.
We've had quite a bit of problems with the Mazak. Unfortunately, it's been under warranty. So there's a range. Now, you know what's important is type of machine being matched to the type of parts that you make. So the Mazaks are mill turn machines. So basically what that means is it's kind of like a combination mill and lathe, and it's a 5-axis machine, and it's bar fed. So it means you can keep feeding the bar in, you can turn parts on it, you can mill parts on it in a 5-axis fashion, and it can make the part, unload it, and then feed the bar out a little more and keep making parts. So that's a big part of our business is trying to figure out better ways of making things. And that means maintaining at least as good a quality or better quality, making them faster, making them more efficient. But one thing that's required with that is considerable investment. These machines, as the machines get more complicated, they're much more money. So the stakes get higher and higher.
Just to check, Hawken will only be offered as a percussion gun and not a flintlock.
That's right. And because of the period of this particular gun, flintlock would not be appropriate.
I know you said you don't do a ton of muzzle loading, but do you have a preference between 32 or 36?
I really don't, but some people claim that they like 36 a little bit better because the balls are a little easier to handle. I think maybe just the shooting experience is a little bit easier with 36.
When you initially discussed the Hawken, some people were concerned about the barrel width and its ability to handle 58 caliber. Any thoughts or reassurances?
Yeah, I don't know quite why, because it's an inch and a 16th at the breech, and there's plenty of barrel strength to hold 58 caliber. And at the smallest point, I'd have to look at the documents, but it's still got plenty of wall thickness for 58.
To follow up on a Browning question for historical accuracy, how would a Woods runner have been finished barrel and lock back in the day when it was made?
So you can always have something in the white or polished bright. That's always a safe bet. And then a gun that would have been polished bright, over time it would, unless it was cared for immaculately, it would have developed a patina over time. And that kind of a finish is pretty popular today. And that can, in some ways, be simulated with our Jax products that we sell, where it'll give the barrel a little bright grayish color. Imagine like a tool that's been used over time, and it develops sort of a grayish color. So that's one option, is to do a patina finish. But as far as like finishes that would have been used, initially, bright is one option. Also, charcoal bluing is another option, but pretty complicated. And that's a process where you would polish your steel parts and basically heat them up in the presence of charcoal, and it'll to about maybe 900 degrees or thereabouts, and you'll get kind of a nice deep bluish color that almost simulates a rust blue color. So that's an option, though it's pretty complicated. After that, there might be some options for temper blue, which temper blue is basically just heating parts up to maybe around 600 degrees, and you get a bright blue color. Not very durable, but very pretty. And it was probably done on some long rifles too, because it's just so beautiful.
Okay. The barrel dimensions for the Hawken you just said, right? And the calibers
the
you
breech,
just said.
and the smallest. So it tapers down, and I don't have those dimensions at the top of my head right now, but it does.
How about showing a thumb plate?
A thumb piece. Maybe?
It says a thumb plate.
On the Brown Bess, is that what you were thinking?
Oh, maybe.
I don't know. Maybe if you can, if you're still around, just try to clarify what you're.
Well, I have to scroll down then. Okay, we'll see. Is the muzzleloader community growing or shrinking? And then are you seeing new shooters getting Kibler kits?
So it's hard to be certain, because we don't have data about the whole community. We have our experiences, and our experiences is that that it's growing. That our business grows each year, and I think that we've expanded the number of people that are part of this long rifle or muzzleloading community by quite a bit.
The feedback that we're getting from people teaching classes and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one thing that's really nice to hear is that I'm friends with some of the people that teach custom gun building classes, and they'd mentioned that most all of the new students actually have come through us, buying kits, and then decided to try to take the next step and learn a little bit more about building, and have taken some classes to do so. So that's really a nice thing. So I have to believe that it's growing, is what I have to believe.
Have an older model colonial with a rice barrel. Will the newer made barrels fit in the inlet?
So if it's an older one, it probably has a well, let me back up. The shape is slightly different. The newer barrels, you may find it to fit. I think I actually have one old rice barrel that's sitting over by Bree, actually, in her office. I see it right now. So I think we have one older rice barrel, because the new one no guarantees how they fit, because the shape is slightly different.
In the future, is there any possibility of making a full stock version of the Hawken with a flintlock configuration to be consistent with the very early Hawken?
Probably not, unfortunately.
I think we've all gotten cleaning rods, patches, and jags stuck in the barrels at some point. It's a learning experience. Great rifles. I've done around 8 of them. Thank you, Mike. Do you sell the ram rods for the Fowlers? I've seen both for rifles. That's all.
Yeah.
Yes. Some of the replacement parts for the Fowlers are not yet on the website, but you can always send Bree a message, info@kiblerslongrifles.com, and she'll help you out. And that's on my list of things to do, is get those on. So, let's see. Is this effectively staking you're describing here?
Yeah, with the underlugs.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
It's kind of clinching them or staking them in place. Like I said, it's probably not necessary because the fits are pretty good in what we provide, but you can.
Bought a Woods Runner in walnut. It turned out beautiful and it shoots well. Happy with it.
Good.
Will you be taking your son hunting? You've given him memories for a lifetime.
So,
Do it.
So it's all dependent on whether he wants to or not. That's kind of like we don't really want to force him to do what he doesn't want. Kind of just let him find his own way. But with that said, he's been enjoying some hunting videos on YouTube. So, and he's not at all freaked out in any way, or he doesn't find it disturbing or anything.
When we did shoot with my family last week, though, he's very concerned about safety, and he wanted to stand about 20 feet back behind the gun with big earmuffs. So if he gets used to the loud noises, he might be okay with it. I have a 50 cal Woods Runner. Will a larger caliber barrel drop in?
It will.
Yes. Do you know if you'll be supplying a flash guard, screw, and nut for us reenactors? There's only one supplier right now, and they are out of stock.
For the Brown Bess, we probably will.
Yeah. And Track of the Wolf makes them specifically. They do make them for us on other stuff, so they'll probably
for Colonial.
For the Colonial, yeah. It did that thing where it made it so I can't see. Sorry. Are you saying you should? I think we've gotten cleaning. Okay. I use bear grease with a dab of beeswax, so it's just not runny. I can shoot all day without wiping, and it won't flash rust. I may wipe after 25 or 35 shots just because.
Yeah, cool.
If using a toner with Aquafortis, should the toner go under or on top of it? After rubbing back.
Yeah, I've heard of people doing it both ways. I've always used it after the Aquafortis because I know kind of see which direction I want to go. But I've heard of some people using it actually before.
Sorry, late to the show. Caught last mention of Brown Bess, carbine or full length?
It'd be a long land Bess.
Okay. I bought a Woods Runner kit with a couple of mineral stains, but when I finished it, the stains virtually disappeared.
Which is a really great comment. Usually you don't see any discolorations and that's just also a good reason why to check out the quick ship list, because you'll find some great deals there.
Mm-hmm. How can we order the same French amber flints that come with the locks? Track of the Wolf is that they supply the same ones. We are limited with what we can get. Mm-hmm. That's why we aren't able to sell them separately. But Track of the Wolf sells them, and hopefully down the road we won't be limited. We're working on trying to get, I think I'm due for a supply soon of something, but unfortunately.
And we're working direct with actually an English flint maker that's supposed to be getting us quite a quantity here, but we'll see if it pans out.
Yeah. Greetings from Latvia.
Wow, Neat. That's a long ways away.
Your rifles are amazing. I especially like your Southern Mountain rifle. I've never yet owned flintlock. However, one day I hope to own one. All the best.
Thanks for
that's so cool.
Thanks for the message.
I've been happy with the 2 quick ships I've gotten. The word defects adds to the character. Mm-hmm. The wood defects. It's my job to bring the most out of each piece of wood. When you and Jim got married, did he wear those at the altar?
So now I wear them more and more because I can't see very well up close. What
looking
happens
at his
when
phone.
so but I think I'm gonna have to get some reading glasses because it doesn't really work to wear these to going out to eat or anything. And
Can't see the menu.
I can't see the check and stuff.
It's actually making a line in his head when I cut his hair.
It's sort of like a person who wears a hat all the time.
Okay. I purchased a quick ship SMR with mineral stain. Had to look real close to find it. Cool. What size ball do you recommend to be fired from the 20 gauge Fowler?
Probably like maybe a 600 ball, so 0.6 or maybe even 590.
Okay. Looking for Colonial in 54, 58. Yep. We'll have that. Are there any other options for ramrod pipes on the SMR, and how much will the Hawken cost?
So those are the only pipes that we have for the SMR. So they're just kind of unadorned, just rolled tubes. But you could, if you wanted, you could add maybe some filed beads on the end to dress them up a little bit, some filed grooves. So yeah, that would be but we don't have any other options, unfortunately. As far as the Hawken goes, I don't know what the price is going to be. I know that there's more parts on it, and basically what I'm going to do is try to, that's our dog at the door. Basically what I'm going to try to do is look at the work that goes into it and then the cost that goes into it and compare that to our other kits. We know kind of how we do on the other models. We have a feel for it. So I'm hoping that it still is in the range of maybe the Fowler is what I'm hoping. But we'll see. There are some additional parts. You have a standing breech and you have keys, key inlays or escutcheons. So there are some things that make it a little trickier in some ways, but then there's some benefits too. So the benefit is less stock wood and that sort of thing. So the gist of it is we're going to try to keep it as low as we can because we like to make sure that we have a price where we can run a good business and make some money, but then we also don't want it to be too high because we want everybody who wants to experience it to be able to.
Can you get the dog?
Yep.
She's driving me crazy.
Okay.
She's Doodle. It's Daisy. She needs to see me at all times. Well,
so Doodles, it seems, our experience with Doodles is they've been bred enough that they've basically had the dog bred out of them.
Yeah.
So they're not really a dog.
Tiny brain. Do you have a separate CNC machine for each rifle? How do you produce different rifles at the same time?
Yeah, so we have two machines that do stocks. One is an older 3-axis machine that requires more operations to do the stocks. Then we have also a much more sophisticated machine that's a 6-axis machine that we do the Woods Runner and Fowler on now. So the older machines we do the Colonial and the mountain rifle on. And again, it's just kind of like a progression of our business where you have to start with something that's affordable that you can actually use to make your product. But as time has gone on, we've been able to afford some more expensive equipment that's more sophisticated, can do more things faster, cheaper, and better.
Is the Hawken going to be rifled for patch and ball, conical, or both?
So it's going to be a round ball twist is what it'll be. And I know that might make some people happy, maybe some people not happy, but
That's what
some people would like maybe like a 1-in-48 twist, but my thoughts are that that's kind of like a poor choice for either, and not really that great for either a round ball or a conical. To get the conicals to really stabilize, it needs to be much faster. And then 1-in-48 isn't necessarily great for round ball either in those calibers. So they'll probably be offered in the same twist rates that we offer our other rifles.
Could I order walnut junk stock so I could practice my carving before I place my order? So we do have some of those come up. They're called Quaker stocks when they get listed on our site, and they're sold as they come up. We used to take orders for them, but then people would get very upset when those orders weren't filled because we wouldn't have anything that would come in that exact thing. So now when they come up, we list them. They usually sell pretty fast. So I don't, unfortunately, have anything better on that.
And the reason we call them Quaker stocks is because goes back to there's a gunsmithing seminar in Kentucky that's held every year that deals with these muzzleloading guns, and the idea is that somebody gave it the term Quaker stock because it's Quakers being pacifists, and it's a gun that doesn't have any function to it, so it's perfect for a Quaker.
I like that. I didn't realize that. Love your rifles. Plan to get one someday. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Anytime HR doesn't have to get involved, that is a good.
Yeah.
Can you recap the difference between your Hawken and the original? Will you have 2 barrel wedges?
Yeah. So there's 2. There's the departure so there's a big range in original guns. Number one, in the areas which I departed at all. Let me kind of try to think about that a little bit. Probably the butt plate shape a little bit. I find some of the Hawken butt plates shape to be a little bit offensive. Butt plate a little wider because some of the butt plate width on the originals are very small in comparison to the size of the area of the stock around the lock. They taper back a lot. Another thing you'll see on original guns is you'll see the stock kind of swell and then taper back strongly to the thin butt plate, and that's something that I don't like at all. So I think that's kind of like a cheap way of stocking a gun. So that's I didn't incorporate that. Other than that, the toe plate and the finial on the trigger guard and the entry pipe is not just a square finial, but you do see some Hawken guns that have more elaborate finials. So it does have a little bit of interest there. It's some deviation from what people may think is the typical Hawken with a squared end of the trigger guard. It has a relatively short barrel, but there are short barreled Hawken guns. So it really doesn't deviate too much. And let me put it this way: if it were one that looked old and it showed up, you'd have all the Hawken people just frothing at the mouth for it. Let's put it that way.
Frothing. Would you guys do a cheaper trade style gun?
I don't know. One thing that I might like to do sometime is just like a barn gun, just a gun that's basic, that has nothing, that
I'm sorry.
that doesn't have a butt plate or just the bare bones gun that could be still cool and be made cheaper and be more available to people.
Okay. I don't know why they gave me the giggles when you said frothing. Are you guys familiar with Gary Ludwig?
Oh, we love Gary Ludwig.
Yes.
He's the best.
And that is a good reminder that he is involved with doing a lot of teaching of classes for putting together the kit gun for our guns. And he has 2 of them this year, September 15th through 20th and October 19th through 24. And it's pretty affordable for the kind of attention that you get. Like, people are fantastic there. And so if you're interested in that, it's at the Log Cabin shop in Lodi, Ohio is where those are taught. So let us know if you want more information on that. And I'll be posting that on our website too.
Yeah, we were set up all professionally to be able to have all these papers to show up on the screen until things went awry. So
I was gonna
we'll try again next time.
Yeah, I had it really fancy. Do you ever talk to Bob Woodfill?
I don't think I have, to be honest.
Okay. My Woods Runner went together easily. Yes. Great kit. What is your favorite barrel finish to prevent rusting?
So I usually don't pick a barrel finish to prevent rusting, to be honest. So I'm not a very good person, but if you really don't want to prevent rusting, browning is a great finish. And you can also turn browning into a blue color by boiling it at the end or steaming it at the end, and that'd be rust bluing. So those are great finishes that are very durable and would prevent rusting.
Would you consider a Baker pattern rifle for a far future project?
I don't know. I don't really know enough about them to comment. What I do know about them is I thought they were kind of not real attractive, but I don't know for sure.
I had fun working on my still in progress rifle. I can't thank you enough for the fantastic videos you two put together. I really appreciate the care you provide novices like myself. Thank you. That's what we love doing it. Who are both of your favorite frontiersmen?
I don't really have any. So it's so interesting that people get involved with this stuff for different reasons. Some it's because of the people and that were part of it. The history of it in that regard. For me, it's always been sort of the rifles themselves, the fact that they're the fact that they're historical objects, but they're very beautiful, and the art and design and aesthetics of them is what really drew me in.
Mm-hmm. Me too. It's the functional art is something that I am really attracted to. So I don't really have a favorite.
Yeah.
I like all the frontiersmen.
Yeah, that's one thing that's kind of a good reminder is that everybody comes at this stuff from a lot of different backgrounds and perspectives,
Mm-hmm.
and it's easy to lose track of that.
Mm-hmm. I've been involved in muzzle loading for many years, and in my opinion, there's no one that has done more to improve and promote muzzle loading than your products are the best. Thank you.
Thanks.
I don't think you're taking business from custom builders. You're taking business from the Italian kits.
I hope
good.
so.
That's what we're doing. Do you think we should let Henry come in so he
He's
doesn't?
fine.
Okay.
Go America.
Oh. Would you consider a YouTube tour of your shop sometime?
That might be neat.
Mm-hmm.
We've
That's
done
a good
some little
idea.
short ones, little small ones at times, but
It's been a
it'd be
little
nice.
while, and yeah. Something I've been wondering, do you think you make the Italian makers nervous with the competition? Maybe someday they will be
I don't
forced to
know.
retool.
I don't know. It's interesting. I am very proud of our product in terms of the quality, and I don't think there's much comparison. One thing I'm always curious about is as our business grows, is how we the size of our business relative to their size, in terms of revenue and that sort of thing. And it's real hard to know what a business's revenue is. It's pretty, until you're a certain size, it's pretty secretive usually.
Mm-hmm. And their expenses are much more fixed because it's a lot of old machines and stuff.
I mean, in terms of revenue,
but you just the revenue is
gross sales,
yeah.
Just what our market share is compared to their market share is basically, what I'm curious about. And I don't know, I'm sure they know we're around.
Connor Finn says, I fully understand. I'm an introvert that does large demonstrations of history for crowds as big as 800 people. And after I'm done, I have to go hide in a tent and not talk to anybody.
Holy smokes.
Yes, no, I would be hiding too. Do you think the Brown Bess will be ready for the nation's 250th birthday?
I hope so.
We're going to work incredibly hard.
Yeah, it should be, because that would be kind of a disappointment if it wasn't.
I ordered a Woods Runner kit, but not sure I got what I really wanted. If I call before it ships tomorrow, will I be able to alter my order? Daniel Friels, I'll try. Yes, send an email. Send an email to Bree.
Or call Bree.
But leave a message if you don't get a hold of her, because she gets a ton of calls on Monday. 330-551-5844. Is that right? I think. Okay. Does Jim ever take off the magnifying headgear? Not very often. If you need a perk for Woods Runner that is not on your website, how's the best way to get it? I have messed up my trigger. I'm surprised that's not on the website. I'll gotta do that.
So just call Bree. She'll be able to fix you up.
Bree is the best. Bree even made my shirt. She's amazing. Will you guys sell bayonets for the Brown Bess?
So I've been, again, since I'm not a reenactor, I don't really know how things go, but I've been told that we'll need to by people that understand this sort of thing, the reenactor world. And I'm just trying to, I haven't thought about it a lot, but I've kind of considered how to make it. It won't be the easiest thing to make, but I guess we'll have to figure it out.
Will the pistol kit have a set trigger?
No.
I live near Track of the Wolf, and they have visited often in person. Great folks there, highly recommended.
Yeah, we actually we sell some of their products, various things, short starters,
they've been great,
jags and things like that. And one thing that we've learned is that there's some businesses that are run real well in this kind of small muzzleloading world, and maybe some that aren't. and some that are very difficult to work with. But track is one that's run very professionally.
Very professional
And I think,
business.
I
Yes.
think, their success is a testament to that.
Yeah. Percussion 45 SMR with toe plate and nose cap, period, correct, would become your bestseller. Okay, I'll beg. Man, don't worry about the glasses like me. Your arms get shorter. That's all. I shoot 600 balls from my 20 gauge Fowler built from another supplier's kit years ago. They work great unpatched.
Interesting.
Hawken when they make a bronze statue of Jim standing or hooked breech on. Oh, I lost it on the Hawken.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing, it's one that we took a lot of time to make it very, very, very nice. In terms of just, not only in terms of function, but just in terms of just aesthetics, design, and how it's all shaped out. Because, I looked at some of the current offerings that you can buy, and to me they were lacking in some ways, and so I spent a lot of time trying to design it really nice.
Dogs are the best people. Yes, we have 5 dogs at our shop. Only 2 of them are ours. We have employees that bring their dogs, and we're happy to have them do that because it's good for the dogs and good for the people.
And they run around in and out.
As a little pack.
They live far enough from the road that they don't have to be contained, and they have the life. Yeah,
it's pretty great. Will you have any new T-shirts or hoodies or hats? Anything with the English lock? Eventually, probably. It's low on the list. There's so much stuff that needs done, and I have to do taxes and stuff like that. But we will someday. What is the wait time for a woods runner? 1 to 2 months or less than a week. We get a lot of quick ship wood runners.
Yeah, and as time goes on here, like we're eating into our backlog pretty good right now, which is a good thing. And so our wait times are going to be decreasing as the month progresses. So like I said, if you're interested in a gun, we're going to be offering a pretty nice sale coming up here too. So, it'd be a nice time to buy.
A lot of questions are being posed to the both of you. My question is there something you need from your followers? That's an interesting question.
One thing, I don't think we need anything. One thing that I'm amazed with, well, I've said this before, we're amazed with it, and so are other people, is the how passionate our customers are and our followers are. We've hired, maybe some of you noticed that there's a lot more posts online on Facebook and so forth. That's because we've hired some marketing people to help us out with a lot of that. And they represent different businesses, and they're just completely fascinated by how passionate and how supportive,
how interactive how
our
curious
people are.
And
so
yeah.
You guys are the best, and that's what makes a business work, is when it's a good two-way street, and we keep trying to do better, and we'll keep trying to do better.
Yeah, I'm even amazed that, like, right now we have 260 people that are sitting here talking to us we're very grateful already with what you guys are doing. Go ahead. What
I was gonna say, when we started this business, we had absolutely no clue of how it would grow. And we still don't know where it'll grow, but what we do is if there's people that want our products, we'll figure out a way to make them. And if there's more people that want our products, we'll figure out how to make more.
Mm-hmm. When I stopped by this spring to pick up my rifle, I got to meet your dogs. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have 2 doodles. I've been working on a walnut woods runner, but only about 3 hours a week. It is killing me. I really want to shoot it. I love the wood.
It shouldn't be too long. You'll keep at it, and I'm sure it'll be done before too long. You gonna come in, Henry?
Come on, buddy. Okay. He's, yeah, doodles probably need other doodles too. Second vote for a trade gun. Count me in. Mm-hmm. Barn good would be good.
Gun, yeah.
Oh, I lost it. There it is.
There it is.
Will the Hawken also have the same options for fancy and extra fancy?
It will.
Maple?
So it'll be available in walnut. Excuse me.
Me 3 on the walnut trade gun. Would a barn gun be just like a Bubba 1816 percussion conversion or something?
Well, see, barn guns are interesting. It's kind of a phrase that was used on guns that were made in sort of central Pennsylvania.
Let Henry come in, or we let Henry come in.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's some guns that were made without butt plates, and they're made very simple. And the kind of the modern phrase describing our barn guns, and a lot of those are styles that were made in sort of the Lehigh Valley of Pennsylvania, Berks County area, maybe, and they're pretty cool. They're just stripped down, bare bones, but the shape of the stocks themselves and the architecture can make them pretty neat. They go together very easily, and that since there's fewer parts, they could be produced cheaper and might let more people become involved.
I don't know if it's too long of an answer to ask, but what is a brief history of the company? When did you start and how?
Yeah, we'll try here. So we're just coming up on 10 years. So is when we started the company. Now, prior to then, I did custom gun building. So I built one-off guns one at a time, long rifles, Fowlers, things like that, high-end custom gun building. But we've been going for about 10 years. I met Catherine just prior to then, and she was kind of between jobs. And I don't think I would have ever started the business if I hadn't met her. Because she kind of pokes me along. I'm kind of resistant to change, and she kind of pokes me along. So yeah, it started about 10 years ago. We started in a little bit of part of our house, actually. Well, we lived in a workshop, so it was yeah.
Interesting.
And we just keep on trying to grow and trying to do the right things is all.
Yeah, it started with me saying I had to go find a job. And he's like, well, I could find some things around the shop for you to do. And I got this idea and told me about the kit gun thing. He actually told me about that.
Yeah, I thought about the kit gun business probably, I don't know, 20 years ago, probably a long time ago.
He actually told me on my first date with him.
But there's a lot of work to it. And when it was just me, it was easy. It's hard to start a business, especially by yourself, because there's the manufacturing side of the business, but then there's a whole bunch of other stuff.
Mm-hmm. Paperwork, website,
so
phone calls.
In a case where you can do it as like a team, it makes it much more doable, because Catherine would take care of the business aspect of it, and I would just take care of the manufacturing stuff. Mm-hmm. So that's really helped us to grow. Mm-hmm. So it's been about 10 years. I started building guns when I was in my teen years. I'm an engineer also, so I'm a metallurgical engineer. I went to college for and worked as an engineer for a number of years. So it started the business started a long time ago. Yeah. When I was about 15 is when it started.
And you got laid off in 2008.
I did.
And I had gotten fired in 2014. So that says, if you ever get laid off or fired, it could be a good opportunity for you. And I
know that wasn't a great description of our business, and I really would like to try to do a better job of that description sometime, but it's kind of hard.
What is your favorite barrel treatment or oil? Thanks.
As far as the treatment, I kind of like to just use a grade Tina type look that we use with our Jack's Black products work pretty well for that.
Mm-hmm. Are you all looking to possibly manufacture fully completed rifles?
So not really. And here's the reason why, is because the finishing process of a rifle is time consuming and labor intensive, and it's difficult to do well. So the fact that we can make nice kits that people can put together pretty easily, it's a win-win. So what it allows us to do is make the components precisely where people can be part of the building process, which they really enjoy, and then we don't have to do the finishing process because it's labor intensive and time consuming.
And there's a lot of people out there that are enjoying finishing kits for other people.
Yeah,
so there's
and one thing we found is that which makes perfect sense is that when people have done some of the work themselves, they value, and it's more important to themselves in the end, when they're part of the project. So it kind of really is a win-win in that regard.
Would you maybe do something like a Lancaster style?
Yeah, we might. So we're working on, not to change the subject from that, but we have another type of kit that we're working on too here and there, and that's a Bucks County style, which is a Schuler gun. I bought an original Schuler gun, and from about 1800, maybe a little earlier, and so we're working on a kit, of that style. So there's going to be a lot more offerings in the future. It's just we're kind of revving up right now to be able to offer them faster, but it's not easy to get that whole mechanism going.
Because every gun has so many parts.
Yes,
too.
and there's a big cost, big cost to. There's hours, maybe a couple thousand hours in developing a kit, maybe.
I know you discourage the use of round ball in the 16 gauge Fowler. Is it really dangerous or just excessive wear?
Probably not dangerous, but there's just more safety margin, and you'll probably have a better experience with the 20 gauge too, because the wall thickness is a little heavier, and you'll probably get a little more accuracy, less barrel movement or whip or whatever you want to call it.
What caliber for the pistols?
45 through 54, I think, is what it'll work.
Italian gun prices are getting insane. What you are offering for a bit more, it's not even comparison. It's a joke.
Thanks.
I didn't realize the prices were changing. That's interesting. What is the recommended starting and finishing load for the 20 gauge Fowler?
You know, I'm not a good person to talk about this because I don't really shoot, especially Fowlers, much. And I know that's not a good answer, but yeah. So if you send us a message, we can probably help you out a little bit.
Pedersoli stuff is ridiculous. InvestArm is still fairly affordable, but their locks are trash.
Mm-hmm.
What size flint for the Southern Mountain Rifle?
What is it? 3/4 by 7/8 is what it is.
Probably need patience from your followers. LOL. Thanks for answering my question. It's yeah. I would like to have Jim's signature engraved on my lock plate.
So that's one of our goals, is we would like to get at least the round face lock, maybe the Catlin too, but to get some appropriate engraving on it, because like I keep harping about, historical correctness, representing these guns. You know, these guns are supposed to be a representation of the original guns. And for example, the round face locks usually would have some kind of engraving. So that's one of our goals, is to try to figure out processes where that can be incorporated. So in time, you'll see that.
Things that we didn't think we were interested in, Jim keeps pushing, and he's compelled to keep finding.
And it's trying to
ways to do better.
Yeah, and so with that regard, it's like most of these guns had a lot of artistic details, and those artistic details are sometimes beyond the average person putting a kit together. So to be frank, you know, a lot of the guns you see out there are pretty plain, and they make people really happy, but they're not really exactly what you might expect to see originally. And so a long-term, or a goal for us over time, is going to be to incorporate more of those period correct artistic details, whether they're engraving or carving and things like that on the guns.
Do you have any idea how many guns you have built over your lifetime?
So I don't, you know, by hand, I've not built huge numbers. I don't know, but not huge numbers, probably between maybe 50 and 100, not that many.
That sounds like a lot.
Yeah, but some people have made way more, some builders.
Yeah. And then as far as kits,
I don't know.
Made a lot.
We'd have to look at our records and see.
Still would like a Hessian Jaeger rifle.
Yeah, a Jaeger would be neat someday. You know, there's some of the Jaeger, again, I try to make something that I like, and some of the Jaegers are kind of, I don't know, I'm not really keen on them. They're kind of a lot of decoration, but kind of not a lot of style. But there's some that are, you know, like there's a couple that are around, Michael Wagner, I believe. I forget. It's one of the two. Williamsburg has one. And there's another one in a private collection that are just amazing, really fantastic Jaeger guns that have great style.
Do you have a recommendation for black powder?
People like Swiss and GoX. Swiss is probably a little better than GoX, and then GoX is still good.
I went to the muzzleloader class at Bowling Green, Kentucky. Instructor was Wayne Trout.
Mhm.
I built a Colonial long rifle and love it. Shoots great, looks great. I want to thank you for your wonderful kit.
Thank you.
Yeah, Colonial is a good one. Another for a trade gun,
Mhm.
Carolina trade gun.
Mhm.
How about a Lehigh style rifle?
Yeah, those are neat, aren't they?
I would like to offer myself as a tester for a left-handed
Mhm.
woods runner.
Mhm.
Left hand, it will come someday. I don't know what gun.
Mhm.
What's the difference between a Fowler and a trade gun?
Yeah, that's a good question. So most people refer to trade guns these days as, I think, guns that were intended for the Native Americans. But even our Fowler that we offer could be considered a trade gun because they were made in England with the intent of not use domestically for them, but to send them overseas to the colonies or America, and they were a trade gun. So it's all the definition. Now there were some fowling pieces that were made in England that were intended for use there, that were domestic, that weren't intended to be exported. So it's kind of just terminology is what it comes down to. But most people today think a trade gun is a lower grade gun than the fowling piece that we offer, and it was intended for primarily for sale to the natives, I believe.
Do you use Jack's Black on the frizzen or the inside of the barrel?
No, I don't use it on the inside of the barrel, but in the frizzen, yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
For orders that are waiting, do you think there's any chance? Oh, it left. Any chance they ship quicker than the estimate? Yes. It's the estimate. Sometimes it can ship much quicker, and sometimes it'll be right at the tail end of it. It's hard to predict exactly how long an order is going to take. Do you make a Pennsylvania style long rifle with the brass patch box?
Not currently, but that Bucks County one that I talked about, we're trying to, that we're working on. Again, when it'll fall, I don't know, but it'll have a brass box on it. It'll have a side opening box. I don't know if you can see here. So what we do when we start to design these guns is I'll design them on the computer and start modeling them. Then I'll 3D print them out so I can get a feel for what the actual shape ends up being like. Now you can see the starts of a Bucks County gun. I've circled some areas where there's defects and some issues, but it'll have a side opening brass box on it. So I'm pretty excited about the shape of it. They're really beautiful guns, and I have a pretty nice original to guide me along, which helps a great deal. I can pull that down off the rack. Pull it off the rack.
So we went on vacation to Michigan, and he brought this gun and a computer and did a lot of the designing from basically a little desk in the kitchen at our Airbnb.
So it was fun. It was fun. So you can
Made
see
him happy.
it has a side opening brass box. Some very nice incise
It's a
carving.
beauty. I love the carving on it.
See this other side too. Some very nice incise carving.
It's very delicate.
Very nice guard on it. And so yeah, so that could be one we'll offer here someday.
Okay. Do you have any thoughts on someday making an English sporting rifle or smoothbore?
Sporting rifle would be kind of neat, but because I like English guns, but there's only so many that you can do, and there weren't huge numbers of those made. There were pretty small number of them made. So perhaps.
Perfect option for a Bucks County flinter would be a Bedford County percussion, similar hockey stick shape. I'm salivating at the thought.
That's funny because everybody had different tastes. And the Bedford County, I hate. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
On finishing the lock, do you have to disassemble it if you use Jack's Black?
It's a really, really good idea because it can get in places where it shouldn't and start to corrode things after a while. So I definitely recommend taking it apart.
Do your locks, frizzens block the touch hole when closed? Some don't, and I think that can cause hang fires.
So, it doesn't block the touch hole. And so our touch hole is not at the bottom of the pan, but it's near the bottom of the pan. And there's kind of these differing opinions. Everybody has opinions about things, including touch holes. And some people think that they have to be clear at the top of the pan to work well, but that's not my experience. And Larry Pletcher has done a lot of testing that shows that there's very little difference where you put the touch hole as long as it's not too high. So yeah, we have good experience how we position our touch holes. I think most people find they work well.
I thought some people would come in and to harass you more on this, but no one's come in to harass you.
Yeah.
Okay, I got in late. When will you have the pistol kit be ready? I want one.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Fired the Colonial on the 4th for the first time with Pyrodex, main charge, and black powder in the pan. Long delay.
Yeah.
Is there a better black powder substitute?
So what you can do is you can put a little bit of black powder, just maybe 5 grains or 10 grains in the barrel before you dump your Pyrodex down. It's like a booster charge. Other than that, I don't know about any substitutes that work well on flintlocks.
Okay, Lars, I'm sorry, I don't have the translation for that. How about a Northwest trade gun?
A lot of falling for trade guns.
Is there any reason not to use a round ball with one of the 16 gauge Fowler?
So we talked about that. I think if you were here, you probably heard my description.
Don't handle the guns on live stream. They will nuke the stream.
Ooh.
Not allowed anymore.
Thank you.
Oh.
We're pretty bad about knowing what rules are.
But then, okay, that's interesting. It's so
Good to know.
confusing. The rules are so confusing because then there's people with channels where they shoot. It's so confusing. Is that a Hawken stock? No, but we have the Hawken.
Yeah, we do have
3D
one here.
print.
Here's a 3D print.
And it's not a gun.
Not a stock,
It's a 3D print.
You can kind of see a little bit what the stock looks like. It's probably hard to tell without the hardware on it and stuff, but you get kind of an idea what it's going to look like. We've made a few wooden stocks now too. So we have our machine program to make the stocks. So it's coming along.
Lars Anderson asked if you sell to Sweden. I think we do. Email Bree, info@kiblerslongrifles.com. She takes care of all the shipping and she'll know. But I'm pretty sure we have. Can you use metal darkened or Jack's Black on the outside of a lock if you don't take it apart?
Best to take it apart because
It'll
it can
get
get down into like the screw threads and stuff, and over time start to corrode it. And best to take it apart. Taking it apart isn't too bad. You know, it may be a little intimidating at first, but I think if you give it a try and watch some of our videos, you should be okay. The biggest issue is probably you have to have a mainspring vise, which we don't sell, but we're working on getting some to sell here very soon. Track of the Wolf will have something for you to use. And then also to removing the tumbler, which we do have a video on that, I'm sure. Make sure that the gist of it is make sure your plate is well supported, that you're over a vise, your vise is closed on the tumbler as close as it can be before you knock it out, or else you can bend your plate.
How will the underrib and ramrod thimbles be attached on the Hawken?
Yeah, so the underrib will be screwed on with machine screws, and the ramrod pipes will be soldered to the underrib.
Will you be getting any shipments of short sleeve t-shirts in large red? Maybe we're gonna. It's like I said, it's on the list. Since everyone else has given you the suggestions, what about an English Georgian pistol such as made by Griffin?
Yeah, those would be really neat. And we were actually trying to work with a fellow that had one, a really, really cool pistol at that time period. And we were trying to maybe buy it. That didn't work out, and maybe borrow it. But we just recently saw him at a show, and he's still may be interested in loaning it to us. So you never know. That may happen.
You never know. I see there's more potential international customers on here. Are you able to ship kits to international customers? Yes, we definitely do. It depends on the country. Greetings from Norway. We have shipped to Norway. A dog's coffee and black powder is the essence of life. Yes. Are you thinking about making double barrel pistol or rifle in the future? Probably not. Sorry about the all caps. No, we appreciate it. Yes, it's fine. He says regular videos have different rules, but live streams are strict. I'm glad to know. The way some people get around, they just call everything a Nerf gun, BB gun, or paintball gun. It's only a rule on live streams.
Wow.
Any chance of offering a coned barrel?
I don't know. You never know. I haven't really given a lot of thought, but it could be something that we might offer.
And we're getting down to the bottom here.
Well,
Thank you for all the YouTube videos. It makes assembly a breeze.
good.
We need to do more.
Yeah.
But yes, thank you, everybody. It looks
Yeah.
like we've talked a long time.
Yeah.
An
I'm
hour
sorry
and
that
44.
sorry that it didn't really work out with our original setup. I know we probably lost some people, but
I'm
it's just what it
sorry.
is.
I tried to, yeah.
And we'll keep
It's
on
part
trying to
of
do better next time.
pushing. Like I'm trying to push to do a little bit more each time as far as the quality and the technology, and it just sort of backfired a little bit.
Hmm.
Knock volley gun by the end of the year.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Okay. Thank you. Not to beat the dead horse comment on pistol, but the odds of a special run of 40.
Perhaps. Yeah.
Perhaps. Okay. Thanks, guys. And the ATF says black powder guns are not firearms. Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
You guys are awesome. Thanks. And
Thank
we'll be back
you.
again sometime.
Yep. All right. Bye.
That worked out fine.